Insert story in.
Hey, what's up, boys and girls? This is Super Pat 98 coming at you with part 4 of all the Pac-Man ghosts. This video is going to be me talking about the last remaining Pac-Man ghosts that I can find. I mean, they are ghosts after all, so it's hard to find them. Get it? Okay. These ghosts in this video are going to be extremely interesting, so consider this last but not least. So, let's get started. Woo! Number 1, Frankie. Frankie is a name I'm giving a ghost that doesn't have a name, and I think the name is perfect. Frankie comes from the opening cutscene to Ms. Pac-Man Maze Madness, where Professor Pac is explaining basically that there are dark forces that have kidnapped the princess, and her castle's been devoured and now is evil and whatever. So what we learn at the end of Ms. Pac-Man Maze Madness is that princess they're referring to was like the ruler of Pac-Land or something, and these dark forces turned the princess into Mesmerelda. Pretty much, if I'm getting this right. So, are the dark forces Frankie? Basically, the ghost, the Pac-Man ghost that looks like Frankenstein? Maybe. I mean, the opening of the game seems to imply that there are these evil ghosts that teamed up and had power and were able to corrupt and change the princess into a witch. And Mesmerelda is also green. You know, a green witch, Frankie, the green ghost, who's supposed to be like a parody of Frankenstein. I love Frankie. I think his design is awesome. I mean, it's basically, Frankenstein is a Pac-Man ghost. Love the design, and there's more of one of him, and it's just really interesting because we don't get to see Frankie, as I call him, in Ms. Pac-Man Maze Madness like in the gameplay. I wish he's so mysterious, and it makes you wonder, like, what other powers, like, what kind of powers does Frankie have? How is he able to transform the princess into Mesmerelda? Is he like a more powerful ghost? And how does this all work? And it's really interesting. And Frankie can appear in a future Pac-Man or Ms. Pac-Man game if they get the rights back to Ms. Pac-Man. So I think Frankie is an honorable mention to be put on this list. It's either everything I just said, or the Frankie ghosts are like Mesmerelda's minions, or did they just become her minions after they transformed her into Mesmerelda? I guess. Pretty vague, but it kind of makes sense. Number 2, Dr. Buttocks. He is one of the villains from Pac-Man and the Ghostly Adventures, the TV series. He is like the evil scientist to Lord Betrayus, who's always coming up with new inventions to try to destroy Pac-Man. I mean, his name is obviously a pun because his face looks like a, well, you know, even more so than Butthead from Beavis and Butthead. Dr. Buttocks' hair kind of reminds me of Dr. Wily from Mega Man. He has like a claw like as on one of his hands, and it just kind of reminds me of Lord Betrayus's metal hands. Did he find a way to make one of his hands more accessible as a scientist? It seems similar to Lord Betrayus's hands. So he's definitely like a more sophisticated ghost. He's kind of like the Dr. Robotnik of Pac-Man and the Ghostly Adventures. I think he's kind of an entertaining character. I can see him being a standalone villain in a regular Pac-Man adventure kind of game. You don't even need to have Lord Betrayus in the game. You could just have Dr. Buttocks be the villain. Number 3, Butler. Butler is basically the butler to Lord Betrayus in Pac-Man and the Ghostly Adventures. He's also a twin brother with Dr. Buttocks. The only notable thing I can think about Butler, other than the name of his name being a pun, is that he does wear like a little top hat on his head. I mean, that's kind of interesting. I can't think of another ghost in Pac-Man that has a hat, so he's got that. It's kind of interesting that he's twin brothers with Dr. Buttocks. How many great Butler characters have there been in television shows? G from Fresh Prince of Bel-Air, Mr. Belvedere, Niles from The Nanny, Benson, whoever else I'm forgetting. And then, of course, you have Butler. Number 4, Bigab Boo from Pac-Pix, the DS game. A purple ghost with green hair at the top. He's a very fat ghost, and you basically have to make Pac-Man fatter than Bigab Boo to eat him, because he just keeps growing in size. I'm not 100% sure if Bigab Boo is a ghost, but he certainly looks like a Pac-Man ghost, doesn't he? Not much is known about Bigab Boo. He's just another mysterious villain in the world of Pac-Man. But I'm going to say he's a ghost, but the artwork of him on the other screen does kind of look like Bigab Boo is some sort of like ancient Egyptian Mayan god or something like that. So maybe Bigab Boo is not a ghost. He's some sort of like ancient creature or something like that. Or maybe he's like a genie, because his logo kind of looks like a genie lamp. I don't know. A genie ghost? Who knows? But Bigab Boo is pretty cool. I can see him returning in another Pac-Man game. And be even bigger. Number 5, Flicker. Flicker is a ghost from the unreleased PS1 game, Pac-Man Ghost Zone. Not much is known about Flicker once again. There really is only pretty much just artwork where the character was never fully put into the game, unfortunately. I imagine from his title, he would be a unique ghost that would flicker on and off, and like it'd be harder for Pac-Man to see him. And that's a pretty interesting idea for a ghost. But he's a ghost, right? Or she's a ghost, right? So wouldn't the ghost flicker anyway? So it's kind of a ghost being more of a ghost. Kind of fascinating. Number 6, Ice Ghost. This is another ghost from Pac-Man Ghost Zone, and I really like the design of the Ice Ghost. Maybe he would be a boss, or she would be a boss or something. Just a really cool design and very mysterious. How does a ghost even freeze? I mean, it's a ghost, right? So, I don't know. Maybe it's a ghost that was frozen in the tundra in, like, the frickin' North Pole or something. Or I don't know, in Antarctica or something. I also imagine, because it's a unique ghost, that the Ice Ghost would have, like, these special powers that can hurt Pac-Man in, like, a different kind of way than a regular kind of ghost. Number 7, the Rainbow Ghosts from, I think it's from one of the Pac-Man Championship games, where you basically line up all these like rainbow random ghosts and you just eat them all in a row, and it's really like an amazing experience that took Pac-Man in a unique direction that we never got to see in like his regular maze games. I mean, I don't really know if these would even count. I mean, they're random rainbow ghosts, so I don't know, whatever. And number 8, we have the Pac-Man ghosts from the Pac-Man Store show. These ghosts appear in like 2 episodes and like appear kind of in like the intro, and I don't think any of their names are ever revealed. They're pretty interesting. They're unique to Pac-Man because they kind of seem like regular people in that short cartoon, as opposed to the classic Pac-Man ghosts that just always want to get Pac-Man and are doing mischievous things or whatever. Like in this show, they would have arguments with Pac Gal or whatever the frick her name is, the ripoff of Miss Pac-Man, and stuff like that. And I wish we did know these ghosts' names, because they could appear again and be more developed and be added into the roster of the Ghost Gang and all the other classic Pac-Man ghosts. Number 9, the remaining ghosts from Pac-Man World 2. I talked about Hunter in Part 2, who was the most memorable ghost in that game, in my opinion, from Pac-Man fans. Because Hunter appeared in, like, the first world or whatever. But there's other ghosts that appear later on in the game that appear very randomly, and they're all different to each world that Pac-Man finds in Pac-Man World 2. These ghosts are classic, and I can't really think of any names to give them. Leave some comments below if you have ideas for the names of the ghosts in Pac-Man World 2, like the random ones you discover as Pac-Man goes on his epic adventure to finally destroy and kill Spooky, who at the time seemed like he was the most powerful ghost. Number 10, the Ghost Witch. The Ghost Witch of Netor first appeared in Pac-Man 2, The New Adventures, a game that is really interesting and very mixed. I do like the game, but it has flaws, I think. But I love that it's called Pac-Man 2. But anyway, let's go talk more about Ghost Witch herself. I originally didn't even want to include her in this list because I don't think Ghost Witch is a ghost. I mean, she seems more like just a witch, and her name is the Ghost Witch because she is like the ambassador of the ghosts for some reason, and she like bullies the ghosts and like commands them to do things. Maybe she's like a ghost ancestor or something, and I don't even know what I'm talking about right now, but I do kind of like how she's mysterious in like her lore and like what even is she? I mean, maybe she is a ghost. Who knows? The Ghost Witch is just another classic Pac-Man villain that has a mysterious origin, and we've seen this many times before, like Spooky or Mesmerelda. You know, like just a character like Glovis and all these other characters where they have a backstory that's never fully explained. So you can use your imagination into what really lies in the depths of how these characters came to be. She also appeared in Pac-in-Time, the Super Nintendo game, which is a good game. I think it's better than Pac-Man 2, but whatever. I did include Mesmerelda in a previous video because I felt like Mesmerelda could have been seemed more like a ghost than the Ghost Witch, but maybe they're one and the same, and maybe they're both just witches. But I always felt like Mesmerelda looked more like the design of her looked more like a witch Pac-Man ghost, whereas the Ghost Witch just looks like some, evil, deformed witch who's bigger in size than the other ghosts. Then again, Mesmerelda did turn big at the end of Ms. Pac-Man Maze Madness, so whatever. Just these are all just food for thought. I mean, we are talking about Pac-Man, right? Anyway, this is my final video, I believe, on talking about all of the Pac-Man ghosts in the history and lore of the Pac-Man universe. If I discover more Pac-Man ghosts, then maybe I'll make another video. But please like and subscribe if you loved my video. Thank you so much for all your support out there. Waka waka. Keep on munching away like Pac-Man, and I'll see you guys real soon. Thanks for watching.